All right, YouTube, how you doing? Welcome back to the channel. It is Thursday, March 28th. We got opening day in the MLB. Baseball is officially back, baby, like we always do. We're going to go through each and every one of these games on the slate. I'll give you my lean on the side. We'll talk about the total, talk about any player props that we like within the game as well. But make sure to keep an eye on the pinned comment. That is where all of my final plays, so I'm actually rolling with myself, all of those plays will live. We're going to be pretty conservative to start the year. Like, baseball is such an analytical sport when it comes to sports betting that we don't need to force it, right? We want the data to come to us. So as we go through this, it's going to seem pretty broad. We're not going to have this year's data to back what we're saying as much as we'd like. So be patient. With an MLB season and as many games as there is in the year, let's be patient with this one. But guys, hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, comment down below if you're excited for baseball to be back. I know a lot of people think the sport is boring and fine. I'm not going to argue there, but betting on baseball is a different animal. There's so many factors. It is really cool. It makes the sport pretty damn special. But hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, and yeah, let's dive into game number one. By the way, we are 3-0 so far on the MLB season with our picks from the Dodgers and Padres. When they played in Seoul, we had the under as well as both pitchers' walks on the over. So, hey, credit to me for stepping in. I could have just said, you know what, no MLB picks this year because we already hit 100%, right? We're 3-0. But let's carry that momentum into these games here. We're starting off with Baltimore taking on the Angels. Right now, Baltimore heavy favorites at home, minus 178 on the money line, total at 7.5. Again, guys, we don't have much data to back anything here. I'll start with a total. You're going to see me probably take a decent amount of unders today, just because I do think that there'll be some rust being shaken off here. So I am going to lean towards the under. This has been a game in which these teams have gone over. So I think to start the year, in a sense, that kind of flips on its head. Both these teams need time to gear up. This Baltimore offense, I think, is going to have a really, really good year. But this Angels offense, I don't know if that's necessarily going to be in the cards for them. So I'm kind of assuming that Angels will do what I expect them to do for most of the year in this game. And Baltimore kind of, with all these expectations and whatnot, kind of have a slow roll. So my first lean in this spot is going to be towards the under. And in terms of a money line play or a run line, call me easily convinced, but my man Kyle Kerms, the sauce stopped in the stream yesterday when we were going through things, and he talked about how Corbin Burns, who's starting for Baltimore, has struggled in opening days, and he may have convinced me to take the Angels in this spot. So not necessarily looking at them on the money line for plus 160, but for minus 120 for a plus 1.5 on the run line, if I'm already looking at the under in general, that could be a play. So you know what? Shout out to the sauce. Shout out to Kyle Kerms. I think we're going Angels in this spot. Now, from a player prop perspective, we can jump in here, guys, and you'll see me jump into Outlier a few times. If you guys do want to check out Outlier, I'll have a link in the pinned comment, guys. 7 days free, but it's the best one-stop shop for player props. I'm looking at Corbin Burns here, under 6.5 strikeouts. Now, that's a high strikeout line. Not necessarily for him, right? But we can say, new team in this sense, getting the opening day start for Baltimore. And if you look at how he pitched against the Angels last season, his strikeouts per 9 was down. His earned runs, looked pretty good. Same with his walks plus runs. But I don't really see a spot in which I'm necessarily loving what we're seeing. Like his main pitch being the cutter. This is the Angels lineup today, right? Cutter. Look at all of that. Their K percentages dropped drastically. So this is a team that does not strike out a lot against the cutter in this spot. So Corbin Burns under 6.5 strikeouts here. I know it definitely sounds like I'm big on the Angels, but I just think that line could be that much, just a little bit too high. So again, to recap, looking at the Angels plus the 1.5 on the run line, potentially leaning towards the under, and then the under for Corbin Burns strikeout at 6.5. Guys, again, these are leans. Keep an eye on the pinned comment to see what we roll with. We have an entire slate to go through. We may only have, 4, 5, 6 final plays in the pinned comment. So make sure you guys keep an eye on that. Next up, we're looking at Cincinnati taking on Washington. I do like Cincinnati in this spot. They're a little bit juiced, I guess, at minus 150. But again, we kind of got to get used to baseball nowadays because, in football and basketball, those minus 150 numbers are like, no, we can't touch. Baseball, a little bit more lenience in terms of taking a juiced money line and X, Y, and Z. So I do like Cincinnati. I think they have a young team here. Do I love, Frankie Montas? Not necessarily, and I don't know too much about him. Altogether, I would rather, the pitcher pitching for Washington, Josiah Gray, but he didn't close out the year all that well. Last 5 games, 1-4. The ERA was nice, just over 2. But I'm kind of trusting the offense of Cincinnati in this spot. I do think that they have a bright season ahead, and you can tell by the total too. This total sitting at 9 runs. Obviously, the bookmakers and the odds makers in the books expecting a decent amount of runs in here. I would look at the first 5 over in this spot. I do think late game, I think we're going to see a surge kind of early in the first few innings of this game. Late games, I don't know if I love getting to 10 runs here, but I'll lean towards the over overall. But again, you may see first 5 over in the pinned comment here. In terms of a player prop, not to get boring here, but I also don't mind taking Gray's under in strikeouts. That's sitting at 5.5 right now. This is a Reds team that fares fairly well. I mean, kind of middle of the pack when it comes to K percentage against right-handed pitchers. But what I like is Josiah Gray. Last season here, just 8.1 strikeouts per 9 innings. If he's going to give you, we'll probably, account for 5 to 6 innings pitched. Like, I think, with him averaging less than 1 strikeout per inning pitched, he's probably going to land somewhere around 4 or 5 strikeouts today unless he goes off. So for him to get 6 strikeouts, he'd really have to be on his A game here. Last season, he hit the under in 63% of games. He did have, I believe, the last time they played 6 strikeouts and pitched 5 innings. So he won on the hook, but I could see him going under today. Another spot that we liked was Keibert Ruiz. I could see him in a decent game here. In terms of what Josiah Gray pitches, Josiah Gray's looking at a lot of, let's pull it in Outlier. This is something that we found on the stream yesterday, so you could see he played really well. These are his singles. I like his singles today, but he hit that in 7 straight games to close out the year. Gray's going to pitch a lot of sinkers. From a sinker perspective, a lot of red when it comes to his heat map here. So I do think this could be a good spot. Now, I'm not looking at bases. I'm not looking at hits. I like the singles because of this plus 105 value there. So that definitely has a chance to be a final play for sure. Next up, we have Tampa Bay taking on Toronto. I think it's going to be a really good game and obviously a division battle here. I'm on Tampa Bay in this spot. I do think that they are the better team. And for the money you're getting, like Toronto has, some high expectations this season, which warranted totally both these teams, to be completely honest. But I don't think you're going to get minus 130 odds for Tampa Bay much this season, regards to who they play. So I'll take them here minus the 130. In terms of who's on the mound, obviously have 2 good pitchers being their opening day starters here. We have Jose Barrios for Toronto, and then Zach Eflin on the bump for the Tampa Bay Rays. I'm trusting the offenses here, so this could get a little crazy, but you can see my game script prediction here. I like the over as well as both of these pitchers, over 4.5 hits allowed. We'll start with Eflin on the side of the Rays here. So he's pitched okay against Toronto. I don't want to necessarily say that he hasn't, but he closed out the season hitting the over 4.5 in 7 of his last 10. And this is a Toronto team that's top 10 compared, looking at last season, top 10 when it comes to K percentage against righties. The 13th best average team, getting balls in play 14th, hard hit percentage 12th. I do think that this could be a spot for him to leave a couple hanging. He throws a sinker and the curveball. This is both a Toronto team that likes sinkers and curveballs in terms of, their WOBA being up and not striking out to those pitches. So I can get convinced to take an over 4.5 there for Zach Eflin, as well as Jose Barrios. Kind of the same thing that I just mentioned, right? So Tampa Bay, 260 last year against right-handed pitchers. Their hard hit percentage, they're the 7th best team in the league against righties. And when it comes to sinkers, which is going to be the number 1 pitch for Barrios, literally every single player in the lineup right now for Tampa Bay, only one guy has a higher K percentage when it comes to facing righty sinkers than, just average baseball. So I do think that we're going to have a lot of balls in play today. Does that mean that, they're guaranteed to have 5 hits allowed each? No, we could see them get pulled. We could see a low amount of, minutes, a low amount of innings here. But balls in play, no strikeouts, no walks, I do think, could lead to hits. I think at least one of these guys lets up 5 hits, if not both. All right, guys, before we continue on with the slate, I would like to talk to you about Sleeper. I've talked about Sleeper before, but that is because I love the app so much. And right now, they have a couple unbelievable deals going on. If you sign up today using the link in the pinned comment, first off, you'll get your first deposit matched. That's a no-brainer in and of itself. But you also have these two squares. New users get this Tyler Glasnow square, 0.5 strikeouts. I think he's going to throw one strikeout, all right? And then all users, even if you've already signed up, you can get this Zach Gallen square as well. So you literally have like 3 deals, the deposit match and 2 promo squares for the one sign up today. So go check out Sleeper, guys. It's amazing for baseball. If you don't know what Sleeper is, all you do is you pair 2 or more player props into a slip. The more you win, the more you get paid out. And what I like about Sleeper is the fact that each and every slip you throw in has its own payout multiplier, because each play you put in the slip has its own multiplier. So you don't just follow the fixed payout structure like a lot of other apps out there. 2 for 2 does not always equal 3. You can win up to 100 times over on Sleeper. Go check it out. You will not regret it. I say it all the time, and I stand by it. We've been working with Sleeper for a long time. Go check it out. That link is going to be in the pinned comment. Go get these free squares. Now let's jump back into today's games. Next up, we have Miami taking on Pittsburgh. Jesus Luzardo on the mound for Miami. Mitch Keller on the mound for Pittsburgh. Mitch Keller started the season last year so good, kind of faded off, right? Which makes it tough because this is the start of the year, but I'm going to lean towards the home team and the team that I do think is the slightly better team here. Looking at Miami here on the money line. Now the total sitting at 7.5. I went back and forth on this one, so I'm not going to really try to, win anyone over with this, but I'm going to lean slightly towards the under in this spot. I'll trust that Mitch Keller can pitch okay, and then, Jesus Luzardo, I do think should be able to hold his own there. In terms of player prop in this spot, I'm looking at Jared Chiolo, over 0.5 hits, runs, and RBIs. When it comes to Jesus Luzardo against left-handed pitchers, his ERA goes from 3.5 to 3.9. Batting average jumps up to nearly 250. Home runs per 9. Not that I think Triolo is going to smack one out there, but that jumps as well. And then the WOBA goes from 300 to 320. So I do like a right-handed batter against him here. And Jared Triolo, steady guy, right? Hit this in 13 of his last 20 last year, 9 of his last 10. So go out there. He can even walk, get on base, and then somehow come in and score a run, right? Over 0.5 hits, runs, and RBIs. I do like the spot for him today. And like I said, I'm kind of giving I'm confused as what Mitch Keller is going to give us, but I don't mind his over 4.5 hits allowed either. If they leave him in long enough, this will happen. This is a Miami team batting against righties last year, top 10 team in terms of average, K percentage. And Mitch Keller here, kind of in the 50th percentile against, he allows a 250 average against, or just as a starting pitcher last year. So, I don't necessarily think we're going to get like the stud Mitch Keller that we had last year. So if he goes middle of the road here, I think that he can pitch and give us, maybe 6 innings, allowing a hit per inning, and we cash this kind of with ease. So we'll see how that plays out. But again, 2 player props in there that I am leaning towards. Next up, we have the Royals hosting the Twins here. Royals, slight dogs. And I say that kind of shockingly. They're only plus 104 on the money line. Total is at 8 in this spot. I think you got to lean towards Minnesota, right? This is a team that makes a decent postseason push, I guess you could say. And the Royals, obviously, just a bad team last year. Pablo Lopez on the bump for Minnesota in this spot. So obviously, I do like that spot for him. Cole Ragans, who had some good games, had some bad games last season, but for the most part, I couldn't necessarily trust him, even though I guess that he did have some electric games. But there's a pitching discrepancy here for sure. So give me the Twins in this spot. Total at 8. I'm going to lean towards the under. I don't necessarily think Kansas City gets it going here. And then from a player prop perspective, shout out to Gio, who was in the stream yesterday. I like Pablo Lopez's over 5.5 strikeouts. Now, he really turned it on late in the season last year. I'm hoping we see a little bit momentum there kind of carry through and we see something similar to what we saw, because this is a dude you didn't want to get up against towards the end of last season, right? And I do think that this is obviously a Kansas City team that's going to strike out their fair share and everything like that. So yeah, give me Pablo Lopez over 5.5 strikeouts. It is kind of going against my whole let's start the season conservative and all that, because that is a lot of strikeouts to ask for. But I do like the matchup and I do like the spot. And I think people might be just giddy a little bit for the beginning of the year. Minnesota should be heavier favorites over this Kansas City team, if you ask me, for sure. Next up, we got the White Sox taking on the Detroit Tigers. And I like another underdog here. I do like the White Sox. I see some value in that spot. I don't necessarily think Detroit should be as favored as they are. You can even get good odds at -115 to take the White Sox on the run line here at +1.5. For whatever reason, I do think this could be a White Sox spot. I don't like either of the pitchers. Tariq Screwball on the mound for Detroit, and then Crochet on the mound for the White Sox here. So I don't really think that there's like that much of a pitching edge, right? In altogether. And you have a Detroit team that I don't necessarily think that is going to go out there and pound a lefty. So give me the White Sox here. I think there's some decent value. In terms of best odds, +144 is still your best bet as to what you're looking at for odds. Actually, no, you can get +158 over on Caesars. I could be convinced of that and get -110 on their run line. For whatever reason, I'm behind it. It's not like this White Sox team deserves it, but I do think that that's just a little bit of value. Like, Detroit shouldn't be so heavily favored, in my opinion. In terms of the total, I'll lean towards the under here as well. And then from a player prop perspective, I do like taking a peek at Yohan Moncada. His over 0.5 hits, -130 is some really, really good value. He's going up against a lefty today. His normal average last season was 260. It jumped to 284 when he played against lefties. His WRC plus 110. So I do think this is a good spot from when it comes to fastballs as well. He's a decent fastball hitter. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that he's incredible at it, but it's one of the better pitches that he pitches, and you're going to get nearly 40% fastballs from Screwball. So I do think that this could make its way into a final play as well. Give me Yohan Moncada over 0.5 hits. All right, before we jump into the next game, go ahead and comment 15 if you made it this far into the video. Actually, screw it, 16. I can't even count, right? 16 minutes into today's video. Go ahead and comment that if you made it this far, because I'm excited for baseball season. We're going to have longer videos each and every day because you have a pretty much jam-packed slate every day, but I'm here for it. We're doing MLB. We're doing NBA. We do all the other content on the channel as well, and Tasso's going to be doing the same thing. He's going to have his workload as well. We got tons of content coming, guys. But if you don't know, I recently went full-time as of March 1st doing content, so I'm very, very excited. We're taking this thing up, and very excited to kind of grind my you-know-what off for you guys. So, yeah, comment 16 if you made it this far, and if you heard what I just said. I love seeing people comment that, meaning you stayed through and watched this whole video, because that means you ain't a guppy. You're not a guppy. You're not a hater. But all right, we got Houston taking on New York, one of the better games that we'll have on today, obviously. But I like Houston. I do think that they're the better team here in this spot. And what I'll say is I'm a Red Sox fan, which I don't know how much of a Red Sox fan I can be now, but I can't bet the Yankees in this spot. Opening day. But if you're going to tell me Nestor Cortez versus Framber Valdez didn't really have a good postseason, right? This dude's got to come out of here with some guns a-blazing mentality, I would assume. So I like him in this spot as well. Not necessarily something that I'm going to get behind and really want to, bet on, because I do think that this Yankees offense is good. But Framber Valdez, from a hits perspective, his under 4.5 hits, you could entertain me with that. I do think he's going to come with a little bit of fire here in this spot. But my main player prop that I'm going to like in this spot is going to be Yandy Diaz here, under 1.5 total bases. Let's jump into outliers so I can walk you guys through this. So not that I love Nestor Cortez, right? But he is see right here, left-handed pitcher, right? And if we go down here, like Yandy Diaz, 282 average last season overall, 126.9 WRC plus. Look at him against a lefty. He stinks against lefties, right? 214 average overall. He's going to get a lot of fastballs from Cortez. Fastballs, nothing that's going to be too crazy, but his strikeout goes up, his WOBA goes down. You can see a lot of blue in terms of his heat zone, and this is going to be the spot where Cortez throws to a right-handed batter, right? Right up here, upper left. Look at this. He's cold. Even any of these red spots here, upper in the zone, like he's really going to struggle against. So I do think that this could be a final play as well. I like the value there as well at -105 for his under 1.5 hits, runs, and RBIs. My concern is that it's opening day and anything can happen, right? But I do like that. In terms of a total, I'll lean slightly towards the under because, again, for whatever reason, I'm big on Valdez today, and I don't think that this game gets out of hand. I had San Diego taking on San Francisco. I think you have good odds for San Diego. I do like them this season. Overall, San Francisco, sure, I guess I can get behind them at some points, but San Diego has the sort of rust opportunity to shake off. Yes, they're in Korea and all that jazz, but minus 108 I do think is some good value. The one, I guess, concern you could say is that when, San Francisco's in the beginning of their rotation, they're good. They don't have the best pitching rotation, but Logan Webb's a good pitcher. I'm going to take Yu Darvish, though, in this spot here. He hasn't necessarily pitched all that great against San Francisco in the past. His last 3 starts here haven't been terrible, but not all that great. But I do think that them having the 2 games under their belt and Yu Darvish already having a pitching game under their belt could be a good spot here. Total at 7.5. We saw that obviously big game, game number 2 against the Dodgers, 15-11. Game number 1 was a low-scoring game, and San Francisco closed out the year really, really having a tough time scoring. I don't think that's going to be the same thing today. I think that the Padres kind of set the pace here, and a lot of runs we can expect in this spot. So I'll lean towards the over ever so slightly. A player prop that I don't mind taking a peek at in this spot is going to be a guy that's been trending. He's 2 for 2 so far on the season here. He's kind of middle of the road when it comes to batting against right-handed pitchers. Like, he's slightly down, but I do like his spot against Logan Webb here. It's going to be Xander Bogaerts over 1.5 hits, runs, and RBIs. 7 plate appearances. He has a 333 average. Like I said, he's slightly down to right-handed pitchers, but 285 to 283. Nothing that I'm going to get my panties in a bunch about. And Logan Webb, not the best against right-handed batters, right? So my one concern would be the changeup. Bogaerts not exactly the best changeup hitter. Webb's going to give you a changeup nearly half the time, but I still do like the trend here. I like the value. 3 and 7 in terms of hits, runs, and RBIs this season so far for him. But like I said, that changeup is a little worrisome. This is a game I'm not really all that interested in, I guess. We have the Dodgers taking on St. Louis. I like the Dodgers on the run line here, minus 1.5. Miles Mikolas is getting the start for St. Louis. He's been shelled by the Dodgers in the past, but like, who isn't going to get shelled by the Dodgers this season, I feel like. So, I'll trust Tyler Glasnow and the Dodgers in this spot. I don't think St. Louis has the easiest time scoring, so I'm going to lean slightly towards the under in this spot as well. And then from a player prop perspective, nothing really jumping off the page to me, to be completely honest. We could stumble upon something, so keep an eye on the pinned comment, but as of right now, nothing that I'm absolutely loving. All right, we have Texas taking on the Cubs here. Eovaldi getting the start for Texas. I love me some Nathan Eovaldi. Going up against Justin Steele, who's also a very good pitcher, but I'll put my faith in Eovaldi in this spot. Give me the Texas Rangers on the money line here. I also think the bats come to play, even though we have some good pitching on the mound today, so I'm going to lean towards the over. From a player prop perspective here, Evan Carter, Texas Ranger here, closed out the year fairly well. 9 of his last 10 games did hit the over for his 0.5 bases. Justin Steele doesn't pitch that well against left-handed batters. The problem is Evan Carter stinks against left-handed pitchers, so that could be the thing that talks me off of it, but I don't necessarily mind it. I also like Justin Steele's over 4.5 hits allowed. He closed out the year really, really poorly. Last 4 starts, 6, 7, 8, 6 hits allowed in this spot. This is a Texas team that plays really well against left-handed pitchers. 7th best average last year, 11th best K percentage, and 3rd best hard hit percentage. So I do think that they get to him in this spot. Going to get a lot of fastballs from Justin Steele today. So hopefully some of these guys on Texas can handle that and, put up 5 hits. All right, Oakland taking on Cleveland. I mean, I'm not going to give you a breaking news, jaw-dropping take here, but I'm not very big on Oakland this season as they look forward to Vegas and whatnot. But I'll take Cleveland here at minus 150. I do think you have some decent odds because I don't think you're going to be able to get them, teams against Oakland many times. Now, it is opening day. Anything can happen. That's why the odds are where they are. But I really am not going to sit here and blow smoke up your ass and be like, oh, Oakland can hang in this one. I don't know. I don't really think so. Shane Bieber on the mound for Cleveland. I'll take him over Alex Wood any day of the week as well. New team for Alex Wood. I'm not going to expect him to go out there and pitch super, super well. In terms of a total, 7.5, I'll lean towards the under because I don't think Oakland comes necessarily to play offensively. And, I'm not going to tell you that Cleveland's going to put up a lot of runs either. So I think this game could be like a 4-2 type of a win for Cleveland, or even a 4-3 keeps us under this mark. And then no player props that I'm loving in this spot either. Next up, we have Seattle taking on Boston. Brian Bayo on the mound for Boston. That's going to be one of the only guys that I could see myself like getting somewhat behind on the mound for the Red Sox this year. Going up against Luis Castillo, though, who's obviously the better pitcher. But do I think that I think minus 166 may be too much to lay here in terms of odds. So I'm actually going to lean towards, and again, I'm a Red Sox fan. I'm truly not. I kind of hate the Red Sox and what they've done this offseason. So don't think I'm biased here. I do think this could be the good play. Red Sox plus the 1.5 here. I could see this Mariners team winning this game, 3-2, 4-3, something like that. So I do think that this is an under game as well as a close game. Brian Bayo, again, is probably going to be the only pitcher that I can trust even to the nth degree to kind of reel things in and be able to play well from the mound this year. So give me the Red Sox plus the 1.5. It's more or less I think it's going to be a low-scoring game than it is backing the Red Sox, if that makes sense. From a player prop perspective here, it's gonna be tough to find player props that you like for the Red Sox this season. But Masataka Yoshida, if we can get his bases line at 0.5, I'll take it. Against right-handed pitchers, Luis Castillo's a righty. He bats nearly 300. His ISO 166. And then in terms of Luis Castillo, doesn't pitch all that well against left-handed batters. So I expect Masataka to have a good season and do some good stuff. So I'll lean towards him. You're going to get a lot of fastballs from Luis Castillo, and Masataka Yoshida, like a lot of red in terms of his heat map. So don't necessarily mind that spot for him. The odds you're going to pay a lot of juice for, so it may not be worth pulling the trigger on, but it is the player prop that I look at in this spot. All right, Arizona taking on Colorado. I think it's going to be similar to how I feel about the Dodgers taking on St. Louis. I just think Arizona wins this game by a decent amount, so I'll lean towards them on the run line. And I also do like the over. Like, yes, you're not playing in Colorado, but a Colorado team, this should be a game in which Arizona is able to tee off against. So I'll lean towards the over as well. And then shout out to Thomas, who was in the stream yesterday, shouting out Ketel Marte over 1.5 bases for plus money. I believe it was plus money unless it's changed, but I like that spot for him as well. I might be making up the plus money thing, but Ketel Marte over 1.5 base is definitely going to be something that I want to consider today as well. In terms of why that is, I don't think it's plus money, but he bats over 300 against left-handed pitchers, going up against Kyle Freeland, who is a left-handed pitcher today, right? He has a 350 average against him, 429 on base, 721 slugging percentage, 9 extra base hits in 49 plate appearances, and like I said, over 300 batting average when it comes to this. Now, we looked at this in the stream yesterday. Kyle Freeland's going to throw sinker and slider. Ketel Marte really good against the sinkers in this spot. The sliders is kind of where it drops off. You could see a lot of cold there in terms of that, but if he's going to throw, 30% sinkers, I think Ketel Marte is going to be able to get that, and you can see that Freeland likes to throw it on the outside of the plate to right-handed batters. Well, Ketel Marte, being a switch hitter, is going to bat from the right side, and he loves seeing sinkers on the outside of the plate. So this could definitely be a play that we throw in today. Again, I want to shout out Thomas for that from the stream yesterday. And guys, that's going to be a wrap for the first MLB video of the regular season. I know we already had the Korea one, and that was our first official MLB video, but this is really the start of the season, true MLB opening day. So hope you guys did enjoy. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Let me know who you're feeling to win the World Series. There's a lot of teams out there that are viable, but a couple that I just feel like are a little, upper echelon there. So let me know, and we'll catch you guys in the next one, all right? Peace out.